Welcome to Larkin-Gowan Insights, accountancy and business advice for all, a series that gives you bite-sized tips and guidance on tax, funding, legislation, reforms and much more. With case studies, business advisory and sector specials and even interviews, our team of experts are committed to helping you navigate the world of accounting and finance, with a variety of presenters from across our specialisms. So, let's get on with today's show. Welcome to the second in a series of Autumn Farming Conference special episodes. In this second episode, you'll hear insights on diversification from Sam Steggles, the owner of the Goat Shed, and Edward Vipond from Troston Farms. The audio on this isn't perfect, as it was recorded live in the room, but it still offers some valuable insights from leading voices in the agricultural field. Enjoy!
So next, we've got Sam Steggles, who's the owner of the Goat Shed, who's going to tell us about his fascinating farm diversification.
So it is all about diversification, so we will be different and we will stand this side. So thank you for letting me come. A little bit about the Goat Shed. Here it is. My background to begin with. So I was born a little more than 40 years ago on a farm in South Norfolk, the village of Whackton. I was one of 3 children. My grandfather bought the farm after the war, about 500 acres. He had 4 children and decided to sell it when I was about that high. All I ever wanted to do was farm. So if I wanted to do that, I had to go and do it in my own right. I left school when I was 15. School and I didn't really see eye to eye. I would spend too much time looking out of the window and deciding how much silage could be made out of the playing fields rather than worrying about playing football or whatever everybody else was doing, which was far from ideal given what I know and do now. So I left school at 15, thought I was going to make my fortune going around lambing sheep for people, doing silage, etc., etc. That wasn't to be the case. I got persuaded to go to agricultural college. I did 2 years at Writtle, just down the road here in Chelmsford, a national diploma in agriculture, where we had a great amount of fun, and then was politely asked to go somewhere else to do my HND because I enjoyed myself a little bit too much. Took the long road up to Harper Adams, 3 years there, an HND in agri-food marketing and business studies. The least amount of lectures, the most amount of girls, and the most amount of time to spend in the college bar. So that's my sort of bit of background and a little bit of a journey. I then came home after having done my HND, not knowing what to do. I saw a job advertised in the EDP. For a salesperson. Livestock was a passion of mine. My grandfather imported these pedigree Simmentals in 1973. He was one of the first people to do that, and they all went when he sold the farm. So I came home wanting to do something with livestock, took a job selling poultry equipment in East Anglia, travelling all around East Anglia, doing about 1,000 miles a week, but had an absolute phobia of chickens, and still do. Can't stand feathered things other than a dead pheasant. Did that job, took that in 2004 when I left Harper Adams, came home, but really wanted to farm in my own right. Didn't have a farm, not able to do that, and kept looking at things to do. I was looking at aquaculture. I wanted to grow tilapia, the cod replacement, but I needed about £1 million to do that, and I had about £1,000. So that wasn't a starter. I wanted to look at anaerobic digestion and taking food waste from schools, hospitals, prisons, where there's a large concentration of people, turning it into electric. But bear in mind, this was 2004. So long before we've seen all these big digesters that are out there now, and again £1 million, so that wasn't happening. And then I saw on Countryfile, I think it was, of all places, an article about goats. And I thought, well, goats, yeah, livestock, it's a passion of mine. We can do something with that. We don't need the infrastructure that you need for these big things. So we kept looking into it and wanting to get into it. And then my wife's sister unfortunately passed away at 25 years old. She was walking across the dance floor in a room like this and dropped down, and we turned the life support machines off 4 or 5 days later. So that really gave me the kick up the backside that I needed, that life's too short. None of us knows what's around the corner, so if we're going to do something, let's just have a go, jump in and do it. So sort of screw it, just do it. That's where it came from. So then the goat shed sort of story started. So in 2009, Caroline, my wife, and I had a 3-month-old son. We went off to Cumbria, came home with 10 goats. Hadn't got anywhere to keep them, lived in a standard house with a garden, building cottage, and made cheese from the kitchen sink with these 10 goats. Saw a local farmer who I knew from my poultry days and went to ask him if I could rent his pig buildings because he had got out of pig production, to which he said no. And I thought, how am I going to explain to Caroline that we need to keep the goats in the house? And he said, you can come with me, we've got an old dairy. So he very kindly let me have this dairy unit rent-free for 1 year to get me going. Fast forward a little bit, 2019, 10 years, we spent a long time making goat's cheese at the kitchen sink, supplying farm shops, restaurants, pub chains, airlines, anybody that would take it, we would sell it to them. And then we would progress to making a lot more cheese. 2019, I was fortunate enough to be awarded this tie, which is my Nuffield farming tie, where I decided to go and study the journey to maturity, navigating sustainable food business growth. So I wish to look at how businesses grew substantially, sustainably, but during tricky economical and political times. So I jumped on a plane, went off to Australia. By the time I had landed in Australia, there was a murmuring of this thing called COVID. It hadn't been heard of over there. Spent 3 days in Brisbane and then got back to the hotel, and the phone rang, and it was one of our supermarket contracts. They didn't want our cheese. Fine. And then it was Emirates Airlines. They didn't want our cheese. There's pallet loads of it on the runways in Dubai. We're grounded the planes. You need to come and collect your cheese. Okay, fine. And then the phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing. So at that point, I decided, right, enough's enough. I've got 4 people at home working with us. We need to get home and we need to sort this out. At that point, I went back to Brisbane Airport, handed them my ticket and said, I'd like to go home to England, please. And they said, very well, but your ticket is flying out of Cairns in 12 weeks' time. Okay, but I'm in Brisbane. I'd like to go home. I don't think you quite understand that I've lost 90% of my cheese business in the space of 24 hours. I need to get home and I need to steady the ship. And they said, Mr. Steggles, I don't think you quite understand. There's this thing called COVID, and look out of the window, all our planes are there. Okay, how do I get home? I said, the best thing you can do is go to Trail Finders over there, buy another ticket and get yourself home. So that's exactly what I did. Went to Trail Finders, bought another ticket, flew around the world, got home on the following Sunday lunchtime. So I was away out of the UK for 7 days. By the time I got home, we'd lost 90% of our cheesemaking business, 100% of our holiday cottage business, refunded 100% of our cheesemaking courses, and all I'd got to show for it was a haircut. So at that point, we decided that we needed to do something about it. All our milk was still coming in, our cheese wasn't going out, our stocks were increasing. We had this little wooden shed here. This was the goat shed Mark 1, Mark 2. And my wife said to me that you can't get pasta in the shops, you can't get toilet rolls, you can't get all these things in the shops. So we were on a mission. We'd started to build this new building here. That was our new cheesemaking facility. That was designed to make 400 tons of hard cheese a year and 1 million of our little Wensum Whites a year. But obviously the builders had all gone home. Boris had sent them home. And you can still see at the top there by the window, the plastic is still on the paneling. We decided that we would sweep that out, having done these little videos to say that we've got bread, we've got milk, we've got whatever you wanted out in the little wooden shed, and people kept coming. These videos were posted on Facebook, I don't even know if Instagram was around then, I can't remember, but they were posted on the social media outlets, and people kept coming. At that point, people then kept asking us for more and more and more, so we said, yes, we will get it, and it will be here in the morning. Little did we know what it was going to turn into. So fast forward another year, 18 months, and we opened the Goat Shed Mark III, I suppose, 4, which was a purpose-built building. We put it up next to that. We did it during COVID, and the planning people here would probably tell me off. I just put it up, and then said I put it up as an agricultural building, which it is, and then we got permission afterwards. And we've listened to our customers. We've decided, we've done what they've asked us to do. It's about 6,000 square feet there. We've put a kitchen on the side. They said they wanted tea, coffee, cake, etc. So we listened to them, and they've done that. Then fast forward into 2024, and we expanded again. We've put another building up next to it, and we've now put a butchery, a bakery, a bigger deli in, and gone again. So 24 was the biggest evolution in the Goat Shed's history, I suppose. The shop has now tripled in size from where it was. There's an upstairs mezzanine area. There's, as I said, a butchery, a bakery, a cheese makery. We've built a maze as well at the back to keep our customers there longer, to try and increase their dwell time, to keep them on site, to leverage more of their cash from them. And we've introduced cows again. So 2 years ago, my wife bought me one for a birthday present. Well, my wife and children bought me one for a birthday present, and today we have about 50 of them. So we've gone back into the pedigree Simmentals, and hopefully Grandad would be proud if he was still around. As well as all of this, we've made the bold decision to have a rebrand. So we were the Goat Shed here. We've now moved to the new logo and brand here, which is a big part of the next chapter for us. It's going to allow us to grow again. It's going to reaffirm our position in the market and everything as well. So with that, we've redone all our social media. So you've all been asked to go on and scan Slido and everything. I'm going to ask you to get your phones out now and actually just follow the Goat Shed Norfolk. I think it'll be a lot more beneficial to me than it will to any of these. So please do follow the Goat Shed Norfolk. And that is what my marketing lady told me to say. So I've ticked that one off. So what's important? I think it's really important to have the values, the strong values of any of our businesses. I know that Lark and Gowan have them. I know that all these big companies have them. But I think even as small businesses and even individual farms, it's important that we all have our values, and we actually live by them. We instill them in our team. We work with them with our producers, and we focus on that journey. So for us, for the Goat Shed, and for our wider group of businesses as well, we champion our people. They're really important to us. Our team of 4 people has now grown. We're currently about 50 people, I think, we employ at the Goat Shed site. We champion our community as well. We're doing a lot of community type events and bits and pieces with them. Local producers are a massive focus for us, and we make sure that we focus on our customer journey as well. So we're shouting about family, food, and farming. That's what we are all about. That's what we try to achieve every day. But we are positively passionate about everything that we do. Our team are as well. They're invested in that with us. Hugely ambitious. Those guys are pushing boundaries all the time, every day. People focused is really, really important, and that's whether that's our team, our customers, our suppliers, and even our competition. We need to keep an eye on what they're doing as well. Always being honest, I think that's really important, and if it's not working, why is it not working? We're not scared to make mistakes. We learn from our mistakes, and we push forward. I've spoken about our team, and I think this is really important for whatever line of work you're in, whatever business you have. It's majorly important to have the right people in the right places and making sure that your team, your people are on that journey with you. You've set out clear objectives, you've got clear vision for them to buy into. They have to buy into it, they need to buy into it, and if they're not on the right path, they're not on the right bus, then get them off it. A bad apple can soon rock the boat. So yeah, I said we've gone from 2 or 3 people, I don't know, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it is now, to a team of about 50 people. So all this government budget and everything has made a massive difference to our bottom line. Just the rise in minimum wage and the reduction in the, not the stamp duty, whatever the other one is, it's about £100,000 that we worked out straight off our bottom line. And for a small business, that's got to come from somewhere. So that's going to either be passed on because we can't absorb it. So yeah, these guys are really important, and without them, we don't have a business. So we can have the customers, but if I haven't got people to serve the customers, I don't have a business. So these guys are mega important. What would I do differently if I started it again? I think this was a question that was posed to me a while ago. There are a huge amount of lessons that I've learned along the way, but would I do anything differently? I think it's a resounding no, because the journey that we have been on has developed us to where we are today. It's made us what we are. The customers have came on that journey with us, and it's created a real sense of community. It's created a real sense of belief amongst our team, and I think that's shaped all of our decisions to where we are. So would I change any of it? No. I think that's given us that uniqueness that makes us and stands us apart from the competition. We're not afraid to have a go and make a mistake, because I think that is the only way that we learn. And as long as we learn from them, then it's fine, and we will support our guys in whatever they choose to do. My advice now. I don't know whether I'm in a position to offer advice to you guys or not, but if someone said to me, would I do it again? Yes, I would do it again, but I would think long and hard about how I would do it again. I think it's not for the faint-hearted. You've got to be able to, and you've got to be prepared to roll your sleeves up and get stuck in. You know, when your chef doesn't turn up on Sunday morning, are you going to go and cook lunch? When your pot wash isn't there, are you going to wash the dishes? Can you sweep the floor? Are you prepared to clean the toilets? All of those things, you have to be able to do those, as well as pay the bills and everything else that goes with it. It's absolutely crucial to surround yourself with the right people, in my opinion, and whether that is the people that are advising you or the people that are working with you. And some of the books that I've read, you end up being like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So make sure those 5 people you spend the most time with are good people. And most of all, if you don't enjoy it, don't do it. You have to enjoy it. It doesn't matter what it is. If you enjoy farming, then fine, go and do it. If you enjoy being a shopkeeper, fine, go and do it. If you're enjoying playing golf, go and do it. But if you don't enjoy it, then don't do it. Just go and do something different, because you're a long time dead. Now, this one, I don't think I have any words to work out what succession is, especially after last week. But what does it look like for me or for us, for the goat shed, for our business? What does the future look like? I think the future for me is here. This is my future. This is why I'm doing it for these guys. I don't think we should lose sight of what's important to us and take our eye off the ball. And I'm not proud to say that's exactly what I did. And I lost sight that these guys were the most important thing, not this big shiny green monster that's being created or anything else that's benefited from that. But do not lose sight of what is important, and family has to come first. The future of the goat shed succession, I'm not convinced that handing everything on to the next generation is necessarily the right thing for us, for our family. Do they feel privileged? I don't know. Should they have to work for it? Probably yes. We've had to build it up ourselves from nothing, so why the hell shouldn't they? If we wish to go and sail around the world, then we'll sell it and go and do exactly that. And if we have to pay a bit of tax in the meantime, then so be it. I guess we would like to reward the people that have helped us to build what we've built. So the team of people that have been there with us from the beginning, they should be rewarded for their hard work, their effort. They're giving up the majority of their days to be at work and help us to deliver the products and the services and everything that they're delivering. So I think that's what succession looks like for me, and I appreciate that we've started from a very different place to a lot of you guys, and we do not have the sentimental ties that family farms and generational family farms have. So that is a big difference, I believe, to a proper traditional farming family. And then saying all of that, we've gone back into farming. So we've done the sort of the diversification before the farming came, and we've now gone back into cows, and the whole family is attached to the cows. So that's where our Achilles heel is, really. Okay, questions, because I'm conscious of the time and everything. So any questions, please fire them over. Thank you for listening to me, but please do. My marketing lady was told me that she was going to see how many followers we had at 11:30 and then how many we have later. So there is a small wager on it. So thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Kath and the team. Any questions? There's one on here, yeah.
We've got one here. Did you ever have to borrow money to expand the goat shed, and what was your experience?
Have I borrowed money? Yes, I have borrowed money, quite a lot of it now. What was my experience in borrowing money? I hated borrowing money, and then I realized that actually we can't do it if we don't. So what we've done, and being totally open, is that we have borrowed the money. We've borrowed a lot of money now, and we have put it all on a repayment loan. Everything will be repaid after 10 years. So any piece of finance that we take on is repaid in full after 10 years, and it's fixed. So we fix our interest rates, don't care what it is, as long as it's fixed, and it's fixed for the entirety of the loan, and it's all repaid at the end of that one term. So we know exactly what our costs are going forward.
Do we have any questions from the floor as well? Feel free. Do you have any advice for working with spouses or other family members?
Oh yeah, loads. I think if you ask my wife, she would say, don't work with your husband. If you ask me, Caroline and I are polar opposites. I'm the ideas, the prepared to take a risk, prepared to take a gamble and go and get it. Will it work on the back of a fag packet? Yes, let's go. Caroline needs to make sure that the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and that everything is perfect. But if we had have waited for everything to be perfect, none of this would have happened. And I think she is absolutely the calming influence on my go get it and let's do it. But I think communication is key in it all, regardless of whether that is working with your husband, your wife, your son, your daughter, your mother, father, grandfather, whoever it might be. Communication is key, but have those clear goals that you're working towards at the end, and be open and be honest. That's the key thing, and don't hide anything.
Sounds like a perfect combination. What succession conversations have you had to date?
Well, if you ask my children, they have already divided things up. My son is not interested in people, but he is 15, so he's at that stage in life, and he's decided he wishes to take the non-people facing roles, so the properties, the farming side of it, the poultry farms, the cows and everything, and he's going to let his sister, who loves the people and being involved in the shop and everything, do that side of it. If you speak to Caroline and I, as I said earlier, if we wish to go and sail around the world, then that's exactly what we're going to do. We'll sell it and go and do that. I think we're very fortunate in that we set it up from nothing. It's ours, and we don't have that moral obligation to pass it on to somebody else. Would we like to? Probably yes, but they might not even want to do it. And I think it's really important that they get the opportunity to go away, go and do whatever they want to do, go and do something completely different. And then if they want to come home, fine, we'll have that conversation. But they're 15 years old and 13 years old, and that's not relevant at the moment for us.
How, as an SME, do you relate to environmental social governance?
That is definitely a Caroline question, and I should know the answer. We've got some solar panels, a borehole.
But you covered some of that in your slide, and everyone automatically always goes to the environmental, but actually, a lot of the stuff you do.
The social stuff, we're really good at doing all that. I genuinely, we just do what we think is right, and generally that covers that side of it. I don't even know how to answer that question. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Sam. Very interesting. And could you everyone give Sam a round of applause? Thank you. And next we have Edward Vipond, who's going to talk to us about Troston Farms.
So when Laurie Hill asked me to do this talk in the summer, I thought, what would I be doing in early November? Well, hopefully, I thought to myself, we'd have finished the bulk of my autumn drilling. Sugar beet harvest would be well underway in good conditions. Potato and onion crop would be out and the wheat in behind, no problem at all. And the sunflower crop would be harvested. Well, some of those have been achieved, only some. More on that later. But I think it's been quite a 7 days in the world. And certainly in the UK, we've had our bumps in the road in the last 7 days. And there are people far more qualified to talk about the implications of the budget on agriculture. But expect the unexpected is my motto. And that certainly is ringing true at the minute. Okay, a little bit about me before we talk about the farm. I'm a farmer's son who grew up originally at Floaton near Hadley and then Kersey, and I was cutting my teeth very early and to the detriment of my GCSEs, trying to farm Kersey clay with my father. But at 16, so 30-something years ago, our father took the decision to sell the farm and move north. He was one of the white settlers, I think they called them at the time, where we were trying to effectively quadruple our land mass from 100 acres in Suffolk to 450, 500 acres in the Scottish borders. Alas, no farm was purchased. He did, however, buy a fishing tackle shop in Kelso. And I had a decision to make. farming or fishing tackle? Well, it didn't take me too long to think farming was my way forward. So I went locally to a college in the Scottish borders, and I did a YTS training scheme. Probably a lot of you know what that is, some of you don't. But I earned the princely sum of £29.50 a week, okay, my first year, £35 a week in my second year, and when I was fully employed on the farm I worked on, I earned £110 a week. I thought I was a millionaire. However, I had a crossroads to sort of decide on where I was going after I'd finished my further education. I went to Malton College and then Aberdeen University. I decided to work for Velcro, and after working for a summer for them, they make you work round the clock, it seemed, to make sure that you're of the right metal to work for them. I attended the farm management training scheme, which was a 2-year scheme, and they did pretty much rip the rule book up in what I'd learned at that point, and gave me a really good insight into farm management. Now, I suppose if you wanted to move on in the company, you had to move. My address book was a mess. I was with the company 14 years, and I moved 7 times, some after only a year on the farm. During that time, in Velcro, I completed a Nuffield scholarship. 20 years ago, this November, I was there looking at my departures at, I think it would have been Heathrow Airport, going to Atlanta. And to say I was a rabbit in the headlights was an understatement. I was scared stiff. I arrived at Atlanta Airport. I got one appointment booked in North America. I was going to go and see Omnistar, who were very early adopters of my chosen subject, precision farming. So without some elements of precision farming, I'm sure I would still be in America on the freeway, because it did really scare me half to death. However, I left Velcro seemingly quite a long while ago now and went to Gloucestershire, which provided a different challenge. A very atypical Cotswold estate, a little over 1,000 hectares, but it had a multi-diversification base. AD plant, a lot of housing, a very prestigious shoot, and the farming. And we ended up managing 2 estates in the Cotswolds and 2 in Scotland. So a busy time. However, Suffolk always had a special place in my heart, born and bred, so I came back. And that was now nearly 10 years ago, originally as farms manager, now farms director. And the farm is certainly diverse, but founded in 1961 when Helmut Klaas bought the original 400 hectares. He didn't have any land in Germany, much to contrary to popular belief. He didn't have land in Germany at all. And he wanted land in the UK. And it was the time when they were building the brand of Klaas in the UK. So a farm manager was appointed at that point, and then after a period under a farm management company, there was a desire to bring the management back in hand. And in 2015, I was appointed as farms manager. Rapid expansion has taken place, as you can probably see on the slide. We've added 1,000 hectares in the last 10 years. The desire to expand still exists, but on strict criteria. Okay, 1,800 hectares is the farm base now, and we spread 22 miles. We have a huge range of soil type, from Breckland blow-away sand to heavy clay, and pretty much everything in between. Staffing, as I'm sure many of you in the room have issues with, is no stranger to me, and the issues we have with recruiting, certainly long-term and seasonal, is a real issue. Cropping has had to change and continues to change, some of which I'll talk about in a while, but the demise of oilseed rape is one example. It's just way too risky for me to grow it in this particular area, and we've had to find alternatives. We still grow a considerable area of rye for the crisp bread to pig feed, anything from crisp bread to pig feed, but it's becoming more challenging to find new markets for that crop. Not many of you will be able to see that, unfortunately. It's not huge, but it gives you a bit of a dynamic of our rotation. We are heavily white strawed on the heavy land, and that causes me trouble. As I say, we don't grow oilseed rape. We grow a lot of milling wheat, winter and feed, winter and spring barley, sugar beet, potatoes, onions we rent out, combining rye I've just mentioned, forage rye, maize, winter or spring beans, sunflowers, which I'll come on to in a while. We have over 55 hectares of either CSF, countryside stewardship, or SFI. Anything from grass and nectar-rich margins to stone curlew plots. So we are heavily invested in our environmental element on the farm, but we're planning on doing more with that. So we have massive challenges. I've inherited a fairly healthy blackgrass problem and a weed beet problem, to name but two. So the challenge is out there, and ever more so with the climate we farm in at the minute. Now, DEFRA happily announced, I think 3 or 4 years ago, that farming is changing. That was everywhere, which I took umbrage to, really, because I don't think it personally has changed. Well, maybe in the last week or so it has. But the fundamentals remain the same. The financial support system, in my lifetime, there has never been a bigger change. In some form or other, and there are various, I can't count the number of forms I've filled in over the 30 years I've been managing farms to claim subsidy or direct support. There's always been something. Now that is going to end, and it actually this week, considerably quicker than we thought. I'll come on to that in a minute. Undoubtedly, we need to focus on what we grow and how we grow it, because there is no longer a safety blanket around us in a direct support term. What is also true, and somebody touched on it in the earlier presentation, the administrative burden gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Currently, I have 2 countryside stewardship schemes, 2 SFI schemes, and I'm looking at joining a landscape recovery scheme, none of which at this point can be merged. And that is a massive administrative burden, which I try and take on most days, but it is a massive factor in what I do every day. Now, a lot of you, or all of you, I'm sure will know what that table represents. The regression of BPS. Until last week, it was up to date. That has now longer, for Troston Farms anyway, been scrapped. So, DEFRA announced on the day of the budget that direct support for Troston Farms would drop from its current rate, just a little over 100,000, to 8,000 next year. Straight line. So the regression that we're planning on is no longer. So we were going to have an 80% reduction, now it's a 98% reduction. So with this in mind, how do I navigate a path for the business I manage? And that is a question I ask myself every day. Now, what will Troston Farms look like in 10 years' time, 5 years' time? That was, and it is, Breckland. Now, Breckland, for those of you who don't know, translates to broken land. Okay? Now, post-Second World War, some of that was ploughed out. We were hungry. We have never been hungry since, but we were hungry. And that was the reason something like that was only ever good for breeding rabbits, was brought back into agriculture. So is Troston heading down the rewilding route? Will SFI continue? 3-year term does not fill me with confidence one bit. How am I supposed to change organic matter percentage, biodiversity in 3 years? Do we know that there's another rollover after 3 years? We don't. And that is a real concern. We are members of the Breckland Wildlife Farmers Network, which is a landscape recovery project we are trying to kick into action. We're very close to it, which covers around 45,000 hectares. And we are linking up with some fairly big, bigger than us, way bigger than us, landowners, with some great payments on offer. However, there is a flip side. There's a 20-year commitment. Now that'll see me out. Great, fine. I'll be somewhere playing golf, hopefully badly, I will be doing something in my retirement. But 20 years, there's somebody talked about it in the previous presentation. That's a hell of a commitment to make on land that you may or may not get back out into agricultural production. Where's the well going to be in 20 years? So for now, and that's from the moment, we are not heading into rewilding. We're not planting large area of Paulonia trees, which are very close to us at Troston, okay? They look like triffids at the minute in the field next to Troston. But we're not heading that way, and we're not looking at locking up large areas of land into landscape recovery. Simply put, for various reasons, but one would be foremost in my mind, that the person I work for, Katrina Klaas, combines don't tend to combine landscape recovery areas. So we have a discussion, a healthy one, regularly when she's across in the UK, and we form policy for the farm. So, a question for you, okay? And I hope you can all see that. 8 years ago, I split a field. On the left, as you look at it as well, good, there's a wild bird cover, including a lovely crop of sunflowers. On the right, we have a crop of sugar beet. And albeit the sugar beet wasn't at £40 a tonne, let me tell you. We experienced a drought. Now, hey, that seems to be not the norm, but far from the exception at the minute. So we experienced a drought that summer, and we don't have irrigation on that business, on that land, on that particular block. And the sugar beet suffered terribly. And for those of you know anything about sugar beet, when the sugar beet crop wilts, the next thing that grows is weeds, okay? And you're spending money, good money after bad, trying to control it. And all you're doing is putting your cost of production up and up. So this situation crystallized in my mind the fact that we were no longer really keen on growing sugar beet on the lightest Breckland sand. But it gave me an idea that's developed into a low-risk crop. Now, for those of you who don't know what, other than a flower tub, a sunflower plant looks like, that is it. And we now grow about 65 hectares each year on very light Breckland blowing sand. We plant them in about mid-May, and that's season dependent, and combine them, and I sit here today with some sunflowers to combine. Usually we combine them in October. And every year we learn something about them, what we can do to them and what you shouldn't do to them. And every year is a school year for me in sunflower growing. And we currently sell them for supplementary feeding for wild birds and under countryside stewardship, but I'm looking into other markets, and I'll share I think a very amusing story. The next stage would be producing oil, we thought. Okay, well that's our next level. Adding value, as we're told to diversify. And we're working with a local farmer just in Norfolk who is very good at the crushing process. So he crushes oilseed rape currently. And we had a chip off. Okay, we thought we need to test our oil in the frying of chips. Okay, so we went to the Bury St Edmunds Farmers Club, as it happens, and we had his rapeseed oil, we had a shop-bought sunflower oil, and our sunflower oil. And I'm not going to show you, I haven't got a picture to show you the difference, but it wasn't much. It looked very nice sunflower oil. I thought, we want to win here. This is the future. So we did the taste test. We did the home-produced rapeseed oil. And that was, had a certain rape taste to it. We did the purchased sunflower oil, and lastly, we did our sunflower oil. There was a bit of a delay in the kitchen, though. We thought, what's happening? So went to investigate what was happening in the kitchen. I think Mount Vesuvius had erupted in the kitchen when we put chips into our sunflower oil. And I think we nearly set the kitchen alight, actually, as it happens. However, we learned something. And, it could be a fast failure here, but we learned the fact that we're going to have to take the husk off our sunflower seeds because there is an impurity in sunflower seed husks that reacts quite violently, I can tell you, with hot oil. So, again, you learn something every year. We are looking at ways of taking the hulls off or husks off sunflowers. I'll get back to you on that. So once they get away from quite a sensitive early life as a cotyledon sunflower seed or sunflower plant, they really motor. And they do not need any rain. We've had crops that were planted into what I'd call a sand, well, basically the beach, as I'd call it, Troston sand, and they do not need any rain from that day forward to harvest. They will grow quite happily in a drought situation. Any other crop on that land, bar possibly rye or barley, would suffer. The list of crops I can't grow on the Breckland sand just gets longer and longer and longer. This is an alternative. But it's not for everybody. Don't go away from this talk thinking, I know, I'm going to grow sunflowers next year, because it's not that easy, let me tell you. You know, I've got the scars to prove it. But the ethos behind growing them is risk. Okay, there's risk and reward, and risk is, if everything goes cataclysmically wrong, what have I spent on that crop? I haven't got a contractor to plant an expensive sugar beet seed or maize seed. We've drawn them ourselves. There's the seed cost and a small amount of herbicide, and that is it. They do not have any fertilizer, insecticide, fungicide applied to them. So they are, for me, a low-risk crop. And again, don't go away thinking it's easy to grow, but weed control is massively challenging. There are very limited options on the legal use of herbicide on sunflowers. The reward side is they are a niche crop. And I'm glad they are a niche crop because it keeps the value up. Because not everybody wants to grow them and combine them in October or November. Flowering tends to take place early August, and for 3 weeks they look fantastic. But they soon look a bit sad. So from the glory of flowering to a rather depressed looking sunflower crop, and this is when bird control is vital. So we have got, I don't know how many gas bangers, and the village love me, okay? But we need to keep the pigeons off because they will decimate a crop given the chance. So from the end of flowering to full senescence can be as long as 9 weeks. I count the days. And I looked at them before I came here this morning. We've got one field left to harvest, and I looked at them and thought, we need the sunshine. Where's the sunshine? Because without the sunshine, the back of that seed head is very damp, and it's the easiest way to block my combine up. And believe me, I've been in the tank unblocking it. Okay, hopefully this works. There we go. Just to prove we do combine them, okay? We make various modifications to our combine, and that's secret. I have been in the tank shoveling them when they get bridged, yes, I have. But that is about 5 years ago on a November morning, frosty. It was a very frosty morning, but we do combine them. They are not the easiest things to combine. My combine operator is just about forgiving me for growing sunflowers, but we've made some progress in the harvesting technique, which I'll show you when this video has finished. But it is, you can see, they've gone from a resplendent crop to a fairly poor-looking crop. However, when you look at them elsewhere in the world when they're grown, they're a lot more dead than they are there. This is our new toy. I had to pay full price for it because I do not get discount just because the boss owns the company and the Class franchise and the Class factory. But we have a specific sunseed header, which only takes the heads off. So you can see, the laser, you can see, it doesn't work, you can see the heads are stripped off, the header is quite high, and you are taking 2 or 3 feet of stalk, which improves the sample exponentially. What you do with the stalks, that's another story. However, we're learning. We're continuing to learn, we're continuing to develop, we're continuing to evolve. And evolution is key, I feel, to a profitable farming business. As I said earlier, we have a stewardship scheme, 2 of them. We have an SFI, a pilot, and a fall scheme. And we talked about the 3-year problem, and that's very short term. But I feel it's the only way to try and bridge, and I was going to call this talk, but they wouldn't let me, I don't know why. Mind the gap, okay? Because the gap between what we used to get and what we get now is vast. And that gap, I will never ever fill that gap unless, and that is a tangent point, unless I change my farming system fundamentally and chase every grant available, which I'm not prepared to do. We have roots in the rotation, we have sugar beet in the rotation, potatoes, onions, all the things that need occasionally a reset button, okay? And that reset button might be the plough, okay? And that then precludes me from a shallow, non-invasive tillage grant for a new drill. But I'm not prepared to change my farming system at the detriment of my business to claim a grant for that particular bit of machinery. Doesn't float my boat in any way, shape or form. So the short-term nature of SFI causes me trouble, but I am trying to stack and layer my SFI options on land already in a countryside stewardship scheme. An example would be, we grow cover crops, and cover crops aren't anything new. Don't believe all the hype. They've been grown for years. It's just a facade that they've just, this regenerative farming, which I'm not a fan of the word. It's proper farming. It's farming as it's been going on for decades, centuries. So we will grow a cover crop. We will claim a SFI payment for that cover crop. That cover crop turns into a companion crop, which I drill the sunflowers in. And then I also claim an insecticide-free payment for my sunflowers. So I can net, give or take, £250 a hectare, layering my scheme on top of a sunflower crop. So that, for me, is the way I see my future. Because who's to say what the end of the 3 years, are the government going to roll it over again? Are they going to change the options? Is it going to be more restrictive? We don't know. So that gap that we've just talked about, that's actually got a whole lot worse in the last week, will never be filled in my farming time at Troston, I don't think. We've had direct support. We are not going to get it back. Never's a long while, but in the short term. However, my job as managing the unit or the business is to try and forget about direct support. It's gone and it's history. Make the best use of the asset. However, do not expose the business to huge risk. Because I could grow a lovely crop of sugar beet, okay? And in 2017, we averaged something like 92 tonnes a hectare. Thought, oh, this is easy, okay? Maize yield was good. All the roots were good. In 2018, my average was 55 tonnes a hectare for my sugar beet crop. And my maize crop, I'll be honest with you, 22 tonnes a hectare. I lost £100,000 on maize alone. I did nothing different. Don't blame me. It was the climate. And we've just seen, I mean, who's to say, Valencia, Barcelona, it's happening, okay? And we've got to react to that. And as a land manager, as a business manager, I must ensure I'm not exposing the business to risk. Because I may work for a very wealthy lady, but make no mistake, she's wealthy for one very good reason. She watches the pennies. And I do not get special deals on class machinery. I have to pay what anybody else would pay for a combine. And she is very, very businesslike. And one of the things she said to me when I first joined the business, treat it as your own. And I take that very, very seriously. And the tenure of the business that I will hopefully continue with for the next 18, 20 years till I've had enough will be with that risk approach at the forefront of my mind. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Edward. Any questions from the floor? How many failures or learnings have you had on sunflowers in order for the successes to be achieved?
Okay. Never switch the fan off, I think, is a strap line for me. Okay. Countless, actually. And the determination for me to continue with the enterprise is steadfast. Because what started as a sort of a chance discovery regarding the crop and its sort of ability to grow without any water has turned into a reasonably good enterprise. This year, when we talked about failure, the August wind did my sunflowers no favours whatsoever. And I would have thought my yield is considerably down on what it should be. Because when they fall over, everything eats them. And I mean everything eats them. Countless. Getting hot, nearly catching the barn on fire, shoveling the combine tank out, being impatient at harvest, clogging the sieves up. The list is endless. But you've got to learn from it each year. Be patient, and I'm bad at that. But be patient when you harvest them. But so we've still got a field, 8-hectare field that's still to cut. But we know on the premise that we know it will turn right. We'll get a frosty or a sunny morning, and we'll cut them.
You talked about the oil. Are we going to see class branded oil? What's the
unlikely.
plan? What's the plan for the
plan? I suppose the plan. I went to Agritechnica last year to investigate dehulling machinery, and I thought, well, okay, this is the answer. Found a specific company that dehulls sunflowers, and I sat down with them and said, okay, right, well, what's the plan? You know, what's your sort of capacity? And he said, well, probably about 100 tonnes an hour. I said, whoa, hang on, I do 100 tonnes in total. So there's a 6-figure, 8-figure sum that you'd have to invest in dehulling the sunflower seed. But I think with people we're working with, I think there is a potential, and I say no more than that, of producing a kernel as opposed to an entire sunflower. But it is challenging, I think, with a capital C.
Just to make sure that no one else starts
Indeed.
to do it.
Yeah.
Have you got any plans for further niche crops?
One is enough at the moment. I think the Brecon, I mentioned it a while ago, the Brecon Wildlife Farms Network landscape recovery, it is really quite exciting. But as I said earlier, 20-year commitment. And I think if we can integrate that into our farming system without fundamentally changing things, great. We provide feedstock for quite a couple of AD plants, and we try to cheapen the ration all the time. Maize, way too expensive. Forage rye, too expensive to grow with high seed cost. We're trying to be innovative on that. Should we grow forage barley? Should we grow forage oats? There's a whole lot of things we're looking at the minute to try and keep that light land busy. Because I could grow a beautiful crop of nettles tomorrow, or fat hen, or amaranthus, all the things you don't want. But I think that the comment I would make is, and I've said it 2 or 3 times in the presentation, that the landscape recovery scheme is a good example. They want cultivated margins. They are crazy about cultivated margins on this scheme. And all I grow at the minute is those 3 things: nettle, amaranthus, fat hen. To me, it looks a bloody mess. Okay? However, maybe I'm not looking at it with the right filter. I might have to adjust my filter to say, well, actually, there are invertebrates, there are bugs, insects, whatever the target species are, that actually like that. So what I'd call a bit of a mess maybe isn't. Maybe is what we're looking for in a cultivated margin. But again, shifting the focus away. But niche crops, I think sunflowers are plenty enough at the minute.
And to finish off the back of that, what do you see yourself as? Farming business, a food production business, or something else?
I would say both. It has to be both. We have to evolve, okay? This is, for me, in my farming lifetime, uncharted territory. I have never farmed without some sort of support, direct support system. We got paid for growing linseed, for growing peas, for growing oilseed rape in the past. Those days are gone, and we have to be more innovative about what we do. But the forefront of my mind, and I said it at the end of the presentation, the risk of it going wrong is at the forefront of my mind. And if the sunflower crop isn't harvested, what have I lost? Not as much as any other crop I grow.
I think we're running out of time, but thank you very much, Edward. Could everyone...
Thank you for joining us for Larkin Gowan Insights, Accountancy and Business Advice for All. Don't forget, you can find more information about today's topic and more about how our team of experts can help you in your business by visiting our website, larking-gowan.co.uk. Join us again next time for another fascinating insight into the world of accounting and finance.